Jamie Allen Bishop here with Soul Heart Entertainment. Why are you looking at me like that?
No, I thought you were on.
I am. I'm on live.
Oh.
Thank you for getting my plate for me, Jace. Hey guys, today is ToesDay. Yay, ToesDay. You know I love ToesDay so much, and I'm looking for my freshly printed backwards and upside down photographs that are necessary to be able to do this. My light is not working for some reason, so hopefully we have enough light and the light is decent. No, honey, yeah, no. Thank you, anyway. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? Today is the day that we're going to talk about prosperity and abundance. This whole month actually is our prosperity and abundance, which is our baby toe on our right foot. So if you're somebody who's, hey Katie, how are you? If you're somebody who's interested in prosperity and abundance, this is a good show for you to be on. Woohoo! So, so we're talking toes. And if you have any questions, definitely type a question in, because I love answering questions, and it helps me know what it is that you guys are interested in learning about. So just as a quick little review for Toe Reading Tuesdays, we are going to, I'm gonna put my little map up, and oh, thank you. Yeah, Jacelyn did my makeup today. Yay, I love it when my, thank you very much, I appreciate it. I love it when I feel like, you know, a person instead of just, like I'm just throwing it on there, right? Me, I'm like, with the makeup. Jacelyn actually takes some time to make it look even, and she takes time to get my eyes looking like they're popping and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so thank you, Jacelyn. All right, so just a quick little review on the left foot, right foot, and what those mean. The left foot is our internal self, or our relationship to our higher self, or our God. Our right foot is how we show up in the world around us, and you know, how we relate, I guess, to those near us. So this is our little map, and it's color coded according to our 7 chakra system. So ether is our big picture destiny, air is our communication or creativity, fire is all about our fire, our temper and how we take action. The water toe is all about our relationships. And then the baby toe is our earth toe, which is all about either our prosperity and abundance or our faith and trust. Our faith and trust show up on our internal self side, and our prosperity and abundance show up on our external self side. So if you have a, like a, what am I trying to say? If you have a fluffy toe, is kind of what I call it. I'm not really sure what else to call it. It's a toe that kind of, my husband's saying fat. You know, he's probably far more accurate, but not nearly as diplomatic as I am. So yes, he's absolutely right. We are talking about the plumpness of a toe, if you will. And when we're talking about the plumpness, I'm looking for kind of a plump toe here. Okay, so you can kind of see that these toes plump up a little bit, as opposed to, let's say, these toes are kind of straightforward. So we're looking at when we're talking about prosperity and abundance, we're talking about the right toe. Okay, so if you look at that, it kind of plumps up a little bit, but this one has a lot more plumpness to it. It really feels kind of thick and juicy. Actually, I think, there's a lot of people in the world around us today who have these super plump baby toes. And what the plumpness of a toe refers to is sometimes we're holding on to too much, whether that means physically, whether that means emotionally, whether that means spiritually, it doesn't really matter what it means. It means that we're holding on to too much. So it's time to kind of bless and release some of the things that aren't serving us anymore. So when you're looking down at a baby toe and it's looking a little bit thick, one of the ways to release some of that is, we grew up, or I grew up in a time when affirmations were the thing to do in order to change mindset, right? But affirmations in and of themselves don't necessarily work. You have to have that mindset, you have to have that deep innate feeling around the affirmations, and in order to kind of reprogram the brain and how the brain is holding on to that, because these are our belief systems, that we're kind of trying to overcome. And when they're deep rooted in us, it's really hard to just dismiss whole belief systems. So in order to get affirmations to work a little bit better, one of the ways that you can do that is by babying your toes, by taking your toe in hand, and if you can't reach your toes, getting a tennis ball, getting some sort of cushion or something where you can kind of work the toe and literally manhandle it, massage it a little bit. It's kind of like, when you have, most of the people that I deal with are women. So I'm sorry, men, if you're not relating to this.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like when your mom massaged your back. Well, I think everybody can probably relate to that, right? Hey, Pat, thanks for being here. Hey, Nikki, thanks for being here. Yay. So when your mom pat your back and just kind of soothed you as you were falling asleep, or maybe when you weren't feeling so good, or whoever it was that soothed you, it's kind of like that with your toes. When you're trying to change beliefs and change mindsets, the best way to do that is to, while you're saying those affirmations, to kind of massage the toes and massage specific toes depending on what those affirmations are relating to. So that's just one of the ways that we can make some changes that can really happen almost instantaneously if we're it's kind of like working with dough. You're working with your body literally and kind of making it a little bit more pliable, a little bit more open, a little bit more amenable to change. And when we're trying to change mindsets and belief systems, really truly you kind of have to go there with yourself and get to that point where you're comfortable touching your toes and giving them a little bit of extra TLC, a little bit of baby love. All right, so let's see what Nikki says. So my daughter broke her baby toe in her right foot last week, just like yours. Okay, so I'm wondering, you and I kind of talked a little bit about this, but I'm wondering what belief system in your family lineage that has been passed down from generation to generation to generation, especially that belief system around the idea of prosperity and abundance and how that shows up for you in your life. What is getting changed in your family dynamics? It's actually such a blessing, such a huge blessing. Even though, when we change mindsets and when we change our belief systems, the how do I say it? That's hard. That's really hard for some people to do that. You don't just automatically adopt a new belief system, right? Not not usually anyway, right? Every once in a while we have those aha moments where it's like, yes, definitely, I'm forever gonna change my mind about that because we hear something or we experience something that creates that change in our lives. But under normal circumstances, it's kind of hard to change belief systems, especially those that have been passed down from generation to generation. So, Nikki, I'm wondering what in your family lineage has adjusted, and maybe you and I have talked about that. You're breaking with the past and moving on to a new, more healed version of what your abundance and prosperity looks like in your life. And so the same is holding true for your daughter. And so it's definitely something that is shifting within the family dynamic, and that DNA, your DNA is literally changing. And so it's showing up in your life. The dark side of that, if you will, the flip side of that is, where might you be holding on so strongly that you're not bending to the new thought process and the new way of experiencing prosperity and abundance, okay? So that's the only kind of caveat to a broken toe, a broken prosperity and abundance toe, which is your right baby toe. That's the only thing that I can think of. One of the ways to soothe that, I know that you can't necessarily, play with and massage and get your toe feeling a little bit better when it's broken. You don't want to go there and do that. But one of the things that you can do is you can anoint your toe. This is your earth toe, right? You can anoint it with an earth centric oil. And the ones that come to mind are the frankincense and the myrrh and the lang lang, and kind of that thing. I'll have to think on that. Yeah, do, because I think that there's something that needs to shift there, and I think it's already shifted, and that's why the break actually happened. But now, in order to move on and move forward with that for you guys, for you and your daughter, just, rather than falling back into the old patterns and the old ways of behaving, because if you do fall back into the old ways, chances are likely that you'll break it again, that you'll come to a point where something happens to, that it's, not to put that on you. I don't want to wish you a curse on you or anything like that. It's not my intention. But in other words, it's showing up physically for you, and there's a reason. There's a deep-rooted reason for that. We could certainly get on a call and do some EFT around that, and or just kind of do some personal one-on-one sessions for that, for just releasing that little bit of leftover something. Abundance and prosperity is not necessarily financial. I know that we as a human race want to think of everything that has to do with prosperity and abundance as financially based, but of course that's not accurate. Of course, when you're talking about abundance and prosperity, you're not always just talking financial. You're talking about, having beautiful things around you, maybe going to beautiful places, maybe experiencing your family and or loved ones. Maybe that's what prosperity and abundance looks like to you. It doesn't have to be financial. I know that there's a lot of financial stuff shifting in the world right now, especially with this COVID and pandemic, and I feel like it's a changing of the guards universally for businesses and individuals alike when it comes to how financial health and prosperity ends up looking like in the world around us. because obviously all of these things have happened for a reason. You guys know me well enough to know that I'm a glass half full person. I completely believe in the human race to be able to think past any kind of stops and feel good about the future. I think that we have this unbelievable ability to heal the earth, to heal ourselves, to heal from the past, to go forward in love and kindness and prosperity and abundance. It just seems obvious to me, but I know that there's a lot of people that are struggling right now as well. So, when it comes to that, one of the things that I would just mention is, where are you focusing? Where is your attention going? Because if you're experiencing things that bring you fear, things that bring you anxiety, things that bring you dis-ease, hyphenated ease, look at what you're focusing on, because maybe that focus needs to shift to something over here that's a little bit more prosperous and abundant in your life, rather than focusing on what we're lacking or what we're not getting or what feels uncomfortable, right? So one of the things that I had printed, if I can find it, was an image that I've brought up here a couple of times. So when you're talking about, Nikki, I think you're still on, when you're talking about your baby toe and breaking that, you're talking, of course, about your root and or your sacral chakra, because they both kind of run along the meridian of the baby toe. And if you look at this, you're going to also have to do with your heart region. So I almost feel like intuitively it can also show up in that lower neck, upper back area as far as pain is concerned. So if those toe challenges that you and your daughter have faced have shown up in other areas of your body, either your heart center or your right between your cervical and your thoracic, I would say that you have a little bit more releasing to do. Bless and release some of those beliefs from the past. And the best way that I know how to do that is through EFT coaching, really. But anyway, when it comes to the heart chakra, I want to go back to this. Hopefully it's not too shiny. Hopefully you can see it beyond the shine. But this is a really interesting image, because to me, this shows exactly where we need to be working on. So the baby toe is within the heart center. So one of the things that it comes to prosperity and abundance and faith and trust, I feel like, first of all, I feel like you can't have one without the other. You have to have faith and trust before prosperity and abundance will show up in your life. And if you don't have the faith and trust and prosperity and abundance does show up in your life, it's very fleeting. You won't be able to hold on to it for very long. And one of the things about the faith and trust toe, which is the left baby toe, we talked about that a lot last month, but one of the things about that toe is that we have to be very heart-centered when we're talking about having faith and trust, right? If we're not good, feeling, confident in our heart space around the issues of faith and trust, chances are likely that we're not going to be very confident in the feelings of prosperity and abundance as well. So center around the heart chakra, there are tons and tons of sound meditations, which are just amazing. Out there on YouTube and whatnot. I love listening to them. I always feel so much more open and willing to do and experience new things when I see them, or when I do those. But let's talk a little bit about, I'm going to pull up these toes again. I don't think I have. I'm gonna pull up these toes. Okay, so take a look at those toes. And let me share with you that this foot right here is the right foot, okay? So the prosperity and abundance toe is a little bit hidden. You don't really go to YouTube, but you will. You know, YouTube has a plethora of stuff out there. God, so much. It's kind of hard to sort through a lot of it sometimes. I have a couple of different you know, playlists saved out there. Some of them are public, some of them you can get to by asking me, I guess. Whatever you're interested in. I have, like, they're unlisted, you know, so if you have the link you can get to it, but they're not necessarily things that I share with just anybody. But of course all these ToesDay videos are up there as well, so if you ever want to refer back to them and you're looking for a very specific thing, it's our right side of the body toe. Yes, absolutely, yes. These images, I think that when I show you these images, they may be backwards. I'm not 100% sure, but this is, my husband's saying yes, they are. This is the right toe, so I almost feel like I have to, like, fold this picture in half. Just show you this foot is the right foot. But notice how there's a little bit of hiding going on, like underneath this relationship toe, the baby toe kind of hides itself underneath there. So, you know, my question to this person, the big kind of overwhelming question that I would have would be, where are they holding back? What, you know, where are they holding back in life? And does that holding back serve them? Because it would seem that there's a codependence on relationship. Now, codependence has become a bad word in the woo-woo and psychology oriented fields. I don't consider it a bad word. I consider it something that happens. I think that an interdependent relationship is a little bit nicer way of saying it, but it's kind of similar in that this person obviously has a very close connection to their relationship when it comes to their prosperity and abundance. Oftentimes that serves the relationship. It might serve the situation at home for the best. You know, I know that, like, for example, my cousins have really young children and they have multiples. So there's a lot of like in the beginning of having lots of kids, it was really hard to decide whether they wanted to have one of the parents stay home and basically provide their daycare, because daycare is so unbelievably expensive. So in my cousin's case, they did end up staying home, and that created a little bit more of a dependence on relationship when it came to the prosperity and abundance, or that feeling of being wealthy, right? Now, it doesn't have to. You can be a stay-at-home mom. You can not make one lick of income and have an incredibly healthy looking prosperity and abundance toe that doesn't depend at all on the relationship. It's all about our mindset. Isn't that interesting? Because so that's why I say I would ask this person, are they comfortable with the situation that they're in this moment? Because it does not appear that they are. It appears that they're hiding a little bit. It appears that they're, maybe a little bit unhappy, and the teardrop shape between the two toes right there shows a little bit of a sadness going on. Plus that the toe is kind of curved down to the earth, right? That I think of it as a sadness. In the definitions, it's interesting. I was reading the definitions from my toe reading book. And one of the things that I read, where was it? it was turned down or depressed toes. The person has been beaten down or are looking down at life. They're defeated. And I agree with that. It's definitely an accurate definition for what I sense. The way that I do the toe readings is I feel it. I center myself into that heart space, and I sit with an image or I sit with the person's energy, and I feel how the toe feels. And the toe is just a book, if you will, of the stories that we carry in our mind. So it's like this little thing that shows me all of the stories that you're carrying with you. So when I sit in that heart space center, I can really tap into the energy that's getting put forth in the toe. And in this particular person's case, it was a very sad toe. So while the definition is, I don't know, the definition just sort of cracks me up a little bit. They defeated, right? Sure, that can probably be true of a lot of toes that look maybe even exactly the same, but in this particular person's case, it came across as a little bit more sad, a little bit more almost frustrated, almost to the point where it was just like they had kind of given up to this idea that they're dependent as opposed to interdependent, which is a little bit more of a give and take. So that's my take on that specific show. What else can I talk about here? All right, there's a toe out here that I have a picture of that is, it's kind of a I almost said scary, and while I guess that's kind of an accurate description, it's not necessarily scary. It's a toe that looks like it's really been through a lot, this toe. If I can find this picture, let me see. I have this kind of intermixed with so much other stuff. Let's see if I can find it. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, let me know what those questions are. I feel like it is right here, but I'm not seeing it, so it must not be something that I'm supposed to talk about today if I can't find it. That's how I get those. Yeah, no, not finding it. So, moving right along. All right, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this a little bit. It's the hologram for reflexology, but it serves toe reading just as well. Okay? So if we're talking about the prosperity and abundance toe, and this is, let's just assume that this is the right-hand side. That is the one that is backwards. Okay. So this is the right-hand side of this person, even though I know it looks backwards for you guys. This is the right baby toe right here, okay? And the phalanges end up where the bridge of the foot is. So from that point, we're talking about it's called the shoulder of responsibility, okay? So from what would be the bunion, right, from that kind of point right there, all the way over to this point right here, that arch right there is called the shoulder of responsibility, okay? And you can see that it literally lies on the shoulder in that hologram picture. So what that means is that where we show up in the world, we take on a certain amount of responsibility. And when we take on more responsibility than we feel we deserve, it has a tendency to show up as that bunion, okay? it also would show up as more responsibility on the, here we go. This is a good toe. All right, this one. So the bunion there, and see how that kind of fluffs out right there at the bone, right? That tells me as the toe reader that this person feels a great deal of responsibility in the world today. So I read about, again, I was reading these definitions from the handbook, from the book that I learned from, because I'm writing my own book, you guys, yay. But the bunion, the definition here is angry and inflamed at self-imposed restrictions if the toe is pointing upward. Now, I consider this toe pointing upward because you can see it, it's nice and clear, it's actually coming fairly straight off the toe. There's not too, it's a fairly straight line. This one's has a little bit more fluffiness right there. But for the most part, it's a pretty straight and forward is kind of how I imagine that. Here's a good one. Here's a good one to show the uplift. You can see that these are kind of going up and then pointing down, right? The second toe there is going up and pointing down, whereas this one's kind of curving up, right? That's what they mean by up. And so when the toe is curving up, I think of that as they're more connected to their inner knowing than somebody whose toe is pointing down. They're a little bit more pessimistic versus optimistic, if that's the right way to say it. But the way that this is described is, and I don't mean to laugh, it is what it is. But when it's pointed down, it says a feeling entrapped with the environment due to contained emotions. Okay, so it's the bunion is basically just that entrapment syndrome of kind of feeling sorry for yourself, of the woe is me syndrome, if you will. And it will show up in somebody who's constantly worried. It will show up in somebody who's constantly complaining or constantly pointing out other people's wrongdoings. The bunion to me, it's interesting, the bunion to me is the ultimate sign of forgiveness work that needs to be done. And when I talk about forgiveness work, I talk about, sure, when something tragic or terrible happens in life, there's a certain amount of forgiving that needs to be done to kind of get over the hump of blaming somebody else. But as I've said before, when you're pointing a finger at somebody else, you have how many fingers pointing back at you? We really need to look at where not necessarily our own responsibility lies in the act of whatever it is that created a situation where we need to have forgiveness. It's not about that event or that experience. It's more about the blame, the pain, the shame, the frustration or anger around holding on to whatever that event caused for you. Isn't that interesting? I find that so fascinating because it's really, to me, it's really easy to forgive somebody else. I can come up with a boatload of excuses. I can come up with reasons why they may have done things. I can come up with all kinds of experiences that I've had that would suit them in that situation for whatever reason, whatever it is. And trust me, I've been through the gamut, far more than most people know. I talk about that more in writing in my blog, some of the things that I've been through in life. But when it comes to forgiveness, the thing that's been the most challenging for me and continues to be the most challenging for me. It's not like you suddenly wake up and all forgiveness is completely absolved in your life. But for me, it's more about forgiving myself for holding on to it, right? So interesting. So when it comes to that, another thing to look for in your toes is where those lines that come across your toes, that's where those lines happen. That is a deep crevice, and the deep crevice is all about forgiveness work. It's all about a big bump in the road that caused somebody to feel as though they were taken off. In this particular case, it's the destined path because it's the big toe. And once they come to grips with that, off the path wasn't really off the path. It was just whatever it needed to be to help them learn the lessons that needed to be learned in order to become the amazing person they are now, in order to move forward, in order to relate to other people, whatever it is, whatever the reasons for challenging situations in our life. The only way to get those to a point of resolution in our lives is that forgiveness work. So I think that's where I'm going to leave us with today, unless anybody has any questions, any further questions. All right. Well, cool. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Again, Jamie Allen Bishop with Soul Heart Entertainment. I'm here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Los Angeles, California time, whatever that looks like from wherever you are listening in from. And thank you so much for being here. This is my little logo. I love this logo. My little feet and the toes and the wings and my little angel. Love my logo. All right, you guys, thanks for being here. Mwah. Great to see you, and hope to see you again next week for ToesDay on Tuesday at 6 p.m. Bye for now.